This is episode 72 of Standing Out. Standing Out is a remarkable interview-style podcast with the intention to highlight women and men making outstanding contributions in their field. This podcast is generously sponsored by Think Global. Think Global is a business advisory firm working with women entrepreneurs around the globe to scale their businesses to the next level. Today, I'd like to welcome Rich Maloy. Rich's mission is to transform the world through innovation and entrepreneurship. He believes that startups give all people the opportunity to grow, learn, and earn. He's been a founder and an early employee, helped raise angel financing, organized and run major startup events, and mentored founders. He was hired in 2014 by IBM SoftLayer to manage secondary markets for their startup program, Catalyst. He was promoted to North America Manager for IBM Global Entrepreneur shortly after that. He and his team enrolled 2,500 plus startups in the US and Canada over 3 years, which generated tens of millions of dollars in annual revenue for IBM. He's currently also a venture partner at Springtime Ventures, where he manages deal flow and due diligence, and he's the founder of Engage Here. He lives in beautiful Boulder with his amazing wife and son. He enjoys tech, video games, sci-fi, and skiing. Welcome, Rich. Thanks for being here.
Excellent. Hi, Katrina. Thank you.
Of course, if you live in Boulder, Colorado in general, you have to enjoy skiing.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of a prerequisite.
Totally.
Are you from Colorado originally?
No, from Pittsburgh originally. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, PA. Skied the short hills out in Western Pennsylvania, and then I lived.
I love that. What brought you to Colorado?
After college, I moved to New York City, and I lived and worked in Midtown Manhattan for 14 years. I was in finance, and then I was in sales, and I wanted a better quality of life. I missed blue skies, and especially I think living in Midtown, the skyscrapers eventually kind of start to close in on you, and so I had that feeling, and I wanted a better quality of life. I wanted a bikeable city. I wanted good food. I wanted to be close to the mountains. And frankly, I also wanted to be a part of the tech startup community, and I didn't want to do it in New York. And Boulder had everything.
Yeah, Boulder does have everything. I think a lot of people agree with you. Yeah. It's pretty ideal. A lot of our listeners probably don't know that corporations do focus on entrepreneurial programs. And so when I was sharing your bio, I thought we could talk a little bit more about what IBM does with entrepreneurs and what that program looked like with bringing in the 2,500 startups.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of corporations, actually almost all corporations are engaging with startups in one way, shape, or form. IBM is on the side where they have both cloud services as well as AI services. And so they have a platform and they want to get startups on their platform. And so in one sense, it's kind of a sales funnel, but the way that it's done is in the spirit of giving. And so you get credits to use either the IBM Cloud or IBM Watson basically for free for a year. Get enough credits where you can spin up servers, you can use tons and tons of Watson APIs, and do all of it totally for free. And there's absolutely zero commitment. And the hope is that when your credits run out, you'll become a customer. And then in addition to that, we provided mentorship, we made connections for the startups, and we were just starting to work on how can we engage startups at a deeper level inside of IBM.
That's really interesting. I love that corporations are, yes, it's part of the sales cycle and it's good for business, but it's also just good for startups and entrepreneurs to have access to things that, maybe in that first year they couldn't afford, or maybe that gives them a leg up to propel their business.
Yeah.
What do you like two questions, I guess. What do you like about working with entrepreneurs, and what do you like about being an entrepreneur?
I think the answer to the second one is in the first one, or the answer to the first is in the second, right? Okay. So I am an entrepreneur, and so I love to work with entrepreneurs. But I just feel like we are living in this magical age, this amazing time where we are reforming entire aspects of society and culture, and how we interact with each other, how we interact with government, how we demand that corporations and government and other people interact with us. So we have this opportunity to shape our future, and we're doing it now. And I believe so strongly in the idea that technology shines light into dark places, and that it lifts people up, and that it exposes problems in the world. And what I love about entrepreneurs especially is that we don't just see a problem and go, oh, there's a problem. We look at a problem and say, oh, there's a problem, and I am going to fix that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fix it for everybody. And so I just absolutely love that. And
and we talk a lot for entrepreneurs about it being like a roller coaster. Like some days are amazing and awesome. Some days are low. Sometimes you have both of those feelings in the same day or in the same hours. Like, whoa, what just happened? I was like on cloud 9 and now I'm not feeling so great. How do you maintain your vision or recover from a tough day? Like, how do you stay committed?
Yeah, that's really hard. One of the things is that, one of the things is I have a therapist that I go to twice a month. It's really, really helpful just to have somebody to talk to. I've struggled with depression in my past, and so knowing that about myself is important, and being able to to know that, hey, you know what, there's somebody out there that I can go and just have a regular session with is very helpful. Waking up every morning and seeing my wife and my son and our baby number 2 who's on the way in July.
Congrats.
Yeah. That is a very deep level of inspiration and commitment for me to every day see them and realize this is what I'm doing here in the world. And these are the people that I love, and that they count on me and I count on them, and we support each other.
Thank you for sharing something so personal. I think many of us feel like we have to kind of dance around the topic of mental health. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, because that's a really great message to get out to a larger audience, that talking to someone really does help you on a consistent basis.
Yeah. It's not the sort of thing where you go up to somebody and, because Brad Fells, talks about it very openly as well. Right. But it's not the sort of thing you go up like, hey, you got depression. I've been through depression. Let's talk about that. It's easier, right? It's just you and me talking, Katrina, right? There's nobody listening.
Just us. No one else listening. We hope there's others listening. I do think that is, and you talk about how amazing Boulder is, and how Brad Feld has been really open about his journey with mental health. I know there's actually a couple other startups out of Boulder really focusing on mental health, specifically for entrepreneurs. And I think that's, I think it's called Colorado Mental Health Network, I believe it is. From, AJ Cohen then?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's a really important project to touch on.
Yeah.
So, as you tell us about how you made your shift from corporate to your own thing, to being a startup or an entrepreneur.
I really just went cold turkey.
Okay.
I moved out to Boulder, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I knew my uncle and my cousin and my cousin's wife, and 2 buddies that I knew from video games online. And
oh, wow. So connected.
Yeah. And neither of those buddies are here. In fact, none of those people are here now. My uncle's gone, cousins left. So, but I just jumped in, and Boulder is the kind of community that's so welcoming, and Denver is too, right? And so the community out here in the Front Range and Colorado in general is so welcoming that you could just jump in and go to a meetup and introduce yourself. And at the time, Boulder Open Coffee Club was booming, and so I went to a couple of EOCC meetings and introduced myself and met some people, and went to a couple of other meetups and met some more people. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, I'm in the middle of the, in the middle of the crowd.
Center of the universe.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's one thing there's this old saying of build an audience before you need it in the marketing world that I'm in. And I think there's so much value and truth to doing that, and like really building some strong connections and nurturing those connections. When I've also moved into Colorado, and we knew like 2 people, and I found myself at a lot of meetups. And what was really cool is we've been in business almost 7 years. Just this year, I late last year, I went through all of our contacts that we've met in the last 7 years and started identifying where we met them or how we knew them. There were 800 people. I'm like,
Wow.
800 people. And then I felt guilty. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't kept in touch with these 800 people. But there's so much value in going to those events. So
Yes.
You mentioned one that you like. What was it called? Boulder Coffee?
Boulder Open Coffee Club.
Boulder. Okay. What are some others you like?
You know, I haven't been doing a lot of meetups, so I'm sorry,
Okay.
but
That's okay.
I'm in a little bit of a different position now, I guess, where I've built my network, and I've been to proud to say I've been to every accelerator in Colorado, and there's 2 new that just opened up in Colorado Springs that I plan to get down to, and so I've been a part of incubators and accelerators, and I've from everything from Thai Rockies all the way down in way down in southern Denver, all the way up to Fort Collins Startup Week, and out to Telluride Venture Accelerator, and
How many accelerators are there now? I feel like I can think of 4 or 5, but I know there's so many more.
Yeah.
Right? In
Yeah.
Colorado specifically.
Yeah. So let's see here. There's Techstars, Boomtown. Well, Merge Lane is now just a venture fund, but they are, so I guess we can't count them.
Okay.
Catalyze EU. There was Tech Riot that was run out of Inniskilling. They went for 1 year. SecureSet changed their name to something else, but it's a cybersecurity accelerator.
Okay.
There's Catalyst in Colorado Springs is the new one. Telluride Venture Accelerator. I guess you can count Innisphere as an incubator accelerator. Thai Rockies has one called Propel. There's another new one in Colorado Springs. That's 10 just off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic opportunity for startups to get involved in something, because I think we think of the big ones, but then there's others that either just started or they're maybe not in Denver or Boulder specifically that people just don't know about.
Yeah. For your listeners that are in Colorado, there's something called a brand new fund called the Greater Colorado Venture Fund. And their mandate is to invest in startups of all types. They don't have to be a high growth startup. They don't have to be traditional VC, style of funding. They're doing royalty funding and debt financing and equity financing and all sorts of creative financing methods. They're just kicking off, and their mandate is to invest in companies that are in counties with less than 150,000 residents.
Interesting. Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, recommend checking that out. Yeah.
Good job. Okay, so tell us what you're doing now. So you're going to all of these accelerator programs. What do you do?
So I work for Springtime Ventures. I'm a partner over there. It's a brand new seed stage venture fund. In fact, it's so new. We just did our first close in December of last year. We just made our first investment in a company called the Food Corridor, which is up in Fort Collins.
Oh, cool.
And and so we are in the process of raising money as we're in the process of investing money. We're focused on seed stage technologies we specifically are looking for technology transforming core industries. Okay. And so the more boring and the more old school the industry is, the more ripe it is for technology transformation, the more we believe there's an opportunity there.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I think legal and accounting
right.
2 of my least favorite topics. Those need transformed, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's on one side. And the other side is that I have a consulting business called Engage Here. And this is with my friend and business partner, Tim O'Shea. And what we do is I'm taking what I did with IBM, the startup program that we ran at IBM, which was very expensive to run. We had full-time employees and a sponsorship budget and all this stuff. And there's hundreds of corporations that are engaging with startups, and they go to Silicon Valley and maybe New York City, and that's it. Yeah. Right. And so if let's say you're a major US bank, right, for example, and you go out to Silicon Valley and you look for fintech startups in Silicon Valley or whatever it is that you're shopping for. If you're a fintech startup in Boulder or in Longmont or in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or in Austin, Texas, how do you meet this major US bank? Because there's one guy who's responsible for meeting startups. You don't, right? And he doesn't meet you, and you guys never cross paths. And so,
or you go to the event where they tell you to go, and he's meeting with like 1,000 other of yous. I mean,
right. Totally.
It's tricky.
Yeah. It is. And he's overwhelmed and he just doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with this. And so what we're doing is we're tapping into the local leaders in communities all across the US, like Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Austin, Texas, Seattle, Washington, right, and San Diego. And so we're tapping into local leaders that we know and that we trust and that we've worked with before. And then we're on the other side, we're talking to the corporations, and we're being the connector between the two. And so the corporations want access to the startups. And so we go out and reach out to our community partners. They source the startups, and then we send them over to the corporations.
Wow, that's amazing. And I feel like people don't even know this is happening.
Right.
So I'm glad you shared that. So how can people, like, if someone wants to be a part of that, they just go to your website?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
remind us.
engagehere.co.
Engagehere.co. Perfect.
Yep.
So as an industry expert, what is something that's on your radar right now that you think we'll all be talking about in a year or two from now, sort of as a hot topic?
Boy.
There's a lot happening in your space.
There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening. Man, oh man, gosh. So, I think that the models that are being explored with ICOs right now are really interesting. So an ICO, an initial coin offering, sometimes also called a token generation event, a TGE.
What is that?
What's that?
What is that? I'm not familiar.
So a startup that believes that there's a use for a cryptocurrency in their particular business model.
Okay.
Goes out and issues a brand new coin. It's like if I wanted to create my own version of the US dollar, right? I want to create rich bucks.
Right.
And rich bucks
That's a great name. I think I want you to create rich bucks. So
yeah, look,
like Bitcoin or there's so many of them now.
Ethereum and Ripple and Litecoin.
Yeah.
And, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you basically create your own Bitcoin, if you will, right?
Sure.
So you create your own cryptocurrency is the term for it. And my cryptocurrency ultimately has no underlying value except for the value that you will create around your business. And so if Katrina coin, right, look for your ICO in 2018, right? But
buy it, get in early.
Get in early. So there's tons of stuff out there about this stuff.
That's really cool. So I didn't realize that companies were creating a currency for their company. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So I was thinking it was kind of like we're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever else is out there and seeing which one becomes the one that we use.
Yeah.
But you're saying that might not be the case. We might use multiple based on how we interact with that company. So I might have like Amazon bucks for my purchases at Amazon.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Right. Yeah. So the downside is that it was such a hot space in 2017. The SEC has taken notice, but more than that, there's if we just look historically, right? So I graduated college in '97. I was in New York City during the .com boom and then the bust.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And one of the major problems that I see with the ICOs that took place is that overcapitalization is definitely not a good thing for most startups. Most startups just can't, it's historically you overcapitalize a company before you even have a product, which is what these ICOs are, right? So you write a 6-page white paper and it's partly technical and partly marketing, and then you go out and you market it and you get people to buy into your coin, and then all of a sudden you've got $22 million, right? And you don't even have a product.
Okay. I didn't know it happens like that, but yeah.
Yeah, and those are the outliers, right? But there are definitely coins that are raising money on. They're raising $5, $6, $7 million without even having written a single line of code.
Wow.
So that's something we'll be talking about for the rest of 2018. As that settles out, there's definitely a place for it, and I'm excited to see what the place is for it. I just don't think we've figured it out yet.
That's really cool. That is awesome insight. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, my last question is, what piece of advice would you give yourself now? Nope, sorry, I said it wrong. But what piece of advice would you give a younger version of yourself?
Let's see here.
And it can be any age, younger, a child version of yourself or teenage version of yourself, whatever you choose.
Yeah, actually, it's tough for me because I don't, that's because it's such a retrospective. It's almost like, what do I wish I had done differently? Kind of taps into regret, which is not a great thing, but I don't carry a lot of that around. But, the one thing that I wish I had done sooner was I wish that I had gone into the tech startup world sooner. I mean, honestly, really wish that I pursued that instead of just eyeing it.
Right. Well, and that's awesome insight. I think that is the, follow your heart as it's calling rather than the waiting. But you're right. Like we sometimes don't know. And so our journey is our journey, so just take it for what it is.
It is.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you, Katrina.
You're welcome.